Shabbat Shalom. I wanted to take a couple of moments. I took the liberty this past Shabbat about writing the concept as to whether or not it is appropriate for Jewish people to participate in New Year's evening activities. So I want to just begin with the following concept. If you go back to Germany, beginning in approximately the 12th century, there was a custom the night before a bris that there was a party that was held at the house of the Baal Simcha of the proud parents. And you should know that party took place in two stages. One part was just for the guys. The truth is, the fun part was for the ladies. But that celebration was called the Wacht Nacht, or the night of the watching. The idea was that Hashem would, and an angel, the angel Eliyahu Malach, that Elijah the prophet would stand literally, and I say this when I do a verse, I invite Elijah the prophet to stand on my right side, that he should guide my right hand as I do the bris, the circumcision. It's true, it's very powerful. So there was a custom to have a party the night before the bris, and I think the real reason for the party before the bris was to put the parents at ease. It really makes sense. I mean, if you think about it, it's, backing up a couple thousand years ago, this was a serious procedure. So if you were to work under the premise that Jesus was born on December 25, then actually what we celebrate as New Year's Eve represented the party the night before his circumcision. Now, is that historically accurate? Like Errol, I'll ask you to come back next week. So, okay, fine. What we do have is we have this idea in Jewish tradition that there is more than one opportunity to celebrate Rosh Hashanah. Yes, we all come to Shul in September, and we say Shana to God, but as far back as the time of the Mishnah, there were actually 4 different celebrations during the New Year. One for Nisan, which is our Pesach, if you will. Pesach, we celebrate, that's a new year, right? Celebrating our freedom, etc. Reading in Exodus 12:1, Chodesh Hazeh Lachem Roshei Chodeshim, that this is the start of the new year. Makes sense, right? We were able as a people to mark our own time, so that Nisan was a new year. We know that Tishrei is a new year. And also, by the way, you know of another New Year's, has to do with the trees. Tu B'Shvat, right? Okay. And there's an additional New Year's for tithing, which is part of the New Year. Okay. So we have 4 New Years. So the idea is that to acknowledge a new beginning at different times in Jewish life, Harezeh Meshivach, that's always a good thing. By the way, it's always a good thing to turn a new leaf. It's always a good thing to say, I want to start afresh. I made the comment additionally that one of the most prevalent customs in the Western world is to make what they call New Year's resolutions. Right? And I wrote in my article that, and you're all aware of this, when do gym memberships increase every year? January. Oh yeah, back in my routine, that lasted about 2 weeks. So whatever the case may be, but to make a resolution and to say I want to start, by the way, that's a great thing. And Jewish tradition always believes, right? We say every morning and every afternoon and every evening in our Amidah, we ask for forgiveness. We ask for the permissibility of a new start. So that's all fine. So in that sense, I think it's completely fine to do something while celebrating New Year's. Okay, so if I go out for dinner, I'll say a bracha before I eat. If I'm having a glass of champagne, I'll say a Borei Pri Hagafen. Whatever the case may be, I happen to think it's halachically consistent with Jewish tradition for us to be able to celebrate New Year's. So now, let's pause for a moment, though, and think about this past year. And where we stand as a people. So obviously, this has been a difficult year globally. We have the story of the war in Russia and Ukraine that continues to evolve. Just yesterday, Russian missiles struck a number of main targets in a major city in near Kiev, and we're told 30 people were killed. And even in Russia, there's a lot of mishigas going on, a lot of people who were standing up to Putin. One gentleman found himself serendipitously thrown off of the third-story window, out of the third-story balcony. So the world's a little bit of a crazy place. And I'm reminded of my grandmother of blessed memory, Zichronali Bracha, and we used to say to her, "Ma, it's a Meshugana Welt." And she'd say to us, "The Welt isn't Meshugana, the people are Meshugana, right? It's not the world, it's the people." So I think there's some wisdom there. So, in 2 weeks' time, 2 or 3 weeks' time, January 20th, we're going to have the opportunity to celebrate a Benedict spot with 2 young kids who've been studying for about 2 years, who came to us knowing absolutely nothing. Their father is from Ukraine, the mother is somewhere from Russia, and the father explained to me that he hasn't seen his mother in 6 years. Because obviously the last couple of years have been war, but even before that, there was such distress in Ukraine and with fighting, within internal fighting, etc. It's a mess. But if you read up about what his daily life in Ukraine, right, a lot of the daily life continues to go on as normal. Yes, there are shortages of food. Yes, there are shortages of electricity and power outages, which you would expect in a war. But most impactful is the fact that if you are a male between the age of 18 and 60, you don't go out into the streets. You're not allowed to go out in the streets, because if you go out in the streets, the government will grab you and conscript you and you to the army. So my wife works in a small social work company, and all of her folks are Ukrainian. They were able to get some of their family members out, but there are men who are literally still at home because they don't want to participate in a war, or maybe physically they can't, but the government isn't distinguishing. They need people to fight the battle. So that's what's going on in the front of Ukraine. What I will say to you is that in a couple of weeks, when we have this permit, so we should be able to say a Shahadi on it. That's a wonderful, it's really a mitzvah what the shul is doing, to be able to allow those kids to reconnect with Jewish tradition. On the father's side of the family, it's been generations since anybody's been allowed to have a Jewish education. So you know what? Good for us. I want to share with you the following, because I think it's important as we think and talk about all the time our brothers and sisters in Israel. And I want to share with you the story of a young lady who I know. I've only known her since her birth. And Yael stands about yay high. She's adorable. She's one of 4 kids. And she and 2 of her siblings have made Aliyah. She made Aliyah about 3 years ago. And she was going to go to the University of Pittsburgh, but instead did a last-minute pivot and ended up in Israel at 2%. God bless. So when she arrived in Israel shortly thereafter, it was time lehit gayes, they say in Hebrew, which means you are drafted into the army. And she did her military service, completing her military service, and she was working in intelligence. Bolakavod, beautiful, because I was talking about her, she's a little pit stop. I don't understand. She's in the army. Oh, you're in the army. So she was working in the intelligence field, and she had finished her duty before October 7th. But of course, she was called back, and she's been in the army for months since, but she was released about 6 weeks ago, I would say, approximately. And what Yael does is she herself is now a personal trainer. Beautiful. God bless her. It's wonderful. And so I said to her that we're considering the end of the year. And I said to you, Yael, can you tell me a little bit about how your daily life is today in Israel? And so I want to share with you what she wrote for me for your ears, if you don't mind. She says, "Hi, Uncle Eric." She's not really my niece, but what's the name? You know what I'm saying? She says, "I'm sorry for my delayed response. I've been trying to think." My first reaction was, my life is pretty normal right now. I go to school, go to the gym, see my friends. I don't have anything exciting to share. And then I thought about all the ways that we have adjusted our lives. Here's a glimpse of some things that occur on a daily basis that I have become accustomed to over the past 84 days since October 7th. And again, yes, this was just received yesterday. 6 a.m. wake up. As I turn off my alarm on my phone, I check immediately the notifications from the news sites called Hoter LePersum, with the names of those who died yesterday or last night in Gaza. And for a second, I can't breathe. And then I'm relieved that I do not recognize the name of one of my friends in the list. But then I remember that it was someone's friend. It was someone's brother. It was someone's husband or someone's son. And it's sad. I try to read about each one of them so they are not just numbers. By 7 a.m., waiting for the bus, I pass dozens of posters of hostages, including Omer Shem Tov, a Herzliya native. I feel like I've gotten to know these individuals because I see them every day. A side note, the other day I was working a shift in the gym and someone came in to sign up and he looked very familiar to me. I noticed he was wearing a shirt with Omer's face with the slogan, "Bring him home." I proceeded to finish signing in the guest, but could not stop thinking about him. And then a few days later, I realized that on the registration, he had the same last name as Omer, and that must have been his friend. He looks familiar to me because he looks just like his brother, who I've been seeing on the poster for the last 84 days. 7:30 a.m. at the gym. We have posters of Ramana natives in captivity. Gym members have been lost in battle. And an unnatural thought I had this week, I said to myself, I haven't seen so-and-so in a while. I hope they didn't die and that they're doing okay. It's 1:30 p.m. and I'm in my statistics class. Siren, we all run to the bomb shelter. Constant planes overhead. On Friday morning, before Shabbat, I woke up and was davening when my roommate rushed into the room and told me our friend from the Garin was finally out of Gaza. We dropped all of our plans for the day and drove to see him on his base, got home just 1 hour before Shabbat, but so thankful to see him. I'd say that, thank God, I've been able to live my life, but it's hard. It's hard that we have to pretend that everything's okay when it's not. But we have to. We have to live with both of these truths side by side. We must live to prove to all of our haters that we are not going anywhere. We must live for our friends and family, protecting us. We must live, this is my 20th, for our children and future Jewish generations. May we hear good news soon. Much love, Yael. Amazing. So here we are, folks, at the cusp of a new year, a year that's been difficult for the Jewish people, both in Israel and, of course, here at home. I think the message from Yael is really strong. It's impactful. It's profound. It means that as we identify as Jewish people, as we show up, as we are proud, as we fulfill even one mitzvah, as we come to shul to pray, as we stand with Israel, as we answer questions that we hear from others, as we try to educate, we're not doing it only for ourselves. We're doing it for our brothers and our sisters in Israel. We're doing it for our generation. We're doing it for future generations. That we can all be blessed, as we always have been, dating back to Sefer Bereshit. That we can always be blessed with God's presence, and that God willing, we should always be able to say, Yisrael Chai Shabbat Shalom.